Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie, and you are watching Power Pop Confidential. This episode of Power Pop Confidential is going to focus on the band Shoes, one of the greatest bands formed in Zion, Illinois. Oh my goodness gracious, this is one of the great bands. In fact, what I'm going to be doing on this series is covering bands that are considered power pop, but let me preface it by saying that most of these bands are much more than that. The main thing is the song. That's really the core of power pop. You have a song, then you have either some jangly guitars or some staccato guitars. It might be okay to have a skinny tie or two in the band. Then you're going to have these great harmonies and these great melodic hooks, whether it's just a wham bam thank you ma'am chorus or whether it's a catchy guitar riff, and you're going to get all that jam packed in about three and a half minutes, and that is power pop. I talk a lot about 2020, Paul Collins beat, things like this. These are the in-your-face, hello mutta, hello fada type power pop that is just instantly delectable. Shoes are just like that, but their sound's a little thicker, a little more layered. I got into Shoes in 1979. I had no idea who they were, but since early 78, I had just been buying albums with bands like Shoes, Yachts and Bram Tchaikovsky and The Records, and like I said, 2020, The Last, Paul Collins Beat. This is the kind of stuff I was buying. And I saw a display at Licorice Pizza, which was a music chain store, and the display was for this new album by a band called Shoes. The album was called Present Tense. And I remember the ad advertised take a picture of your shoes and win, blah, 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 $50 or win a copy of the album or something. And I just remember thinking Shoes. Now, it's not The Shoes. There is a French band that was, I think, from the 60s or 70s called The Shoes, but this is Shoes. Gary Klebe, guitar and vocals. Jeff Murphy, guitar and vocals. John Murphy, bass and vocals. Skip Meyer, drums. That is who was on this album and the previous album, which I'm talking about in just a second. I took this album home because it just looked intriguing, and I fell friggin' in love with it. It was so beautiful, so amazing. At this point in my life, I was going through breakup with my first long-term girlfriend, and this is an album that spoke to me. This is an album that said everything that I felt, whether it was heartbreak or joy, and this is an album that got me through the breakup, and it has gotten me through a lot of breakups and ups and downs in life. This is one of those bands that does that to you. Now, this album that came out on Elektra in 1979 was actually their second sort of national commercially released album. They had put out a 10-inch EP demo, 4 copies, or I think 4 acetates is really it was, of called Heads or Tails, and that was 74. Then they put out Jeff and John were recording at home while Gary was in Versailles, France, studying. So Jeff and John put out an album called One in Versailles, and that was their first album. When Gary came back, then they recorded Bazooka, which is very amateurish, still some real fun songs, but not sort of the deep thinking and layered pop that was to follow, that came out on the album Black Vinyl Shoes. Now, this is the album that caught the attention of a bunch of people. This was recorded in their garage. This was one of the very first DIY albums of the punk era that was appealing to the power pop scene. These guys did it themselves. They had their own little headphones and tape decks and microphones, and they did everything themselves, and they came up with their own haunting guitar sounds. They came up with their own layered harmonies, and Black Vinyl Shoes is one of the best albums of the era. Now, if you're approaching it, here it is, we're coming up on 50 years since this album came out. You may go oh, well, gosh, the sound quality. Look, in 1977, this just sounded wonderful, beautiful, haunting. That's the thing about Black Vinyl Shoes. People forget that there's this cavernous, almost haunting feel to it, which makes it a beautiful album because you've got these great melodies, these great vocals, very creative. That caught the attention of the labels. They signed with Elektra, and they recorded the album Present Tense, and that's the album that changed oh my God, So absolutely amazing. Then their second album, which I think was 81, and that was an album called Tongue Twister. It toughened them up a little bit. They still had those wonderful layered harmonies. There were still acoustic and electric guitars going all around, but it was it was like a rougher sound, an edgier sound, not metal, not punk, just a little bit more rockin'. Same thing with the album Boomerang that came out in 1982. Wonderful. Now, about this time that they released this, they also released a promo 12-inch called Shoes on Ice that was recorded at an ice skating rink in Zion or around Zion, Illinois. And it was 6 songs, and it was, I'm not a live music person, but back then I was buying live stuff, and it's powerful and it's great. It just shows you that they're able to take this sound and transfer it to the stage, and it's just great because their harmonies are very unique. You've got the two brothers, you've got Jeff and John Murphy, and then you've got their longtime friend Gary Klebe, and they've managed to create this interlocking, very distinct harmony. Now they left Elektra, and Skip Meyer, the drummer, left, and unfortunately we lost Skip a few years ago. But John, Jeff, and Gary continued on. They signed with a label in Europe, I believe, and then they put out the album called Silhouette. Now, this album came out in 1984, had a little bit more keyboards in it, but it was still a rock, guitar, harmonies, great hooks. But it never came out in the U.S., which was really, really strange. In fact, it never came out in the U.S. until the band released it on CD themselves many years later, a decade later. But then the band sort of faded from view for a little while, at least for some of us who didn't know what the internet would be for another couple of years. But they managed to get a hold of licensing rights, I guess, to put out their own material, their stuff on Elektra. So they put out in 1987 Shoes Best, which was the very first Shoes CD, and it was a best of. And it contained one new song. That one new song was featured on their next album, 1989's Stolen Wishes. And that continued that great Shoes sound. Also, another 5 years would pass before they put out Propeller, another tough album. They were taking their time, and every song was intricately put together. Every guitar, like every and anything like that, they were all there in perfect order, nothing out of place. Great songs, great performances by these three gentlemen. Plus, they would have guests on drums. In 1995, they put out Fret Buzz, which was a live album, which, swear to God, I never bought the live album because I was off live albums by then. Jeff Murphy actually sent me a copy of Fret Buzz, and I could not find it. So I apologize, Jeff. I could not find my Fret Buzz. But just know if you love live albums, check out Fret Buzz by Shoes. 1997, they put out a great compilation called As Is, which is a bunch of unreleased rarities. Where's mine? I have no idea. So I have it in my basket on Discogs. So it's a little pricey, so I'm going to have to sell one of you in order to buy it. 2007, they put out a 2 CD set called Double Exposure. Disc 1 was demos for Present Tense. Disc 2 was demos for Tongue Twister. 2012, they put out a brand new album called Ignition. My opinion, I think it's better than Stolen Wishes and Propeller. I think it's just great. Here it is, 350 years after the band formed, and they're still putting out great, fantastic music, something you need to really check out. This is a great band. That's the last studio album that they put out, hoping that something comes along. It's been 13 years since that album came out, and I'm still waiting for a new one. And I know that I don't have a watch, but I'm still waiting for a new Shoes album. But there's been other things. Jeff Murphy has put out a solo album. He's written a book. These guys are still busy providing backing vocals and living their lives and just being the power pop geniuses that they are. I don't think they wake up and go, oh, I'm a power pop genius. But we wake up and we go, Jeff, John, and Gary are power pop geniuses. This is just me wanting to celebrate this great band on this episode of Power Pop Confidential. In 2012, the same year they put out the new album Ignition, I was asked to provide a track list for a Shoes compilation to Real Gone Music, which I did, and then I did the liner notes for the release as well. Absolutely one of my proudest moments, just right below the day that my daughter was born and the day I swore off cilantro. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you my Shoes CD collection. It is incomplete because I don't have As Is, and I couldn't find Fret Buzz. So check out these CDs, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, we're going to start with the Cherry Red Black Vinyl Shoes Anthology box set. This is a 3 CD set, and it does not contain their first EP, which is called Heads or Tails. I think that was like a 10-inch or something. But 1975, One in Versailles. That's Jeff and John Murphy, and Gary Klebe was in Versailles studying, so they did that on their own. When he came back in 76, they recorded Bazooka. And again, these are all independent releases here. And then this is the original cover of the legendary Black Vinyl Shoes album. This is the album that really brought them attention from critics and labels and such. And PVC actually released it with a different cover, which is that picture right there. So if you're familiar with that, that was the original cover. Now here is the Shoes label. They put that out on CD. That's Black Vinyl Shoes. Now here is the Electrified. This is the Electra albums. It's a 4 CD set, and of course it has a nice booklet, as all Cherry Red box sets do. And then Present Tense from 1979, and that has the regular album and the demos for the album. This is Tongue Twister from 1981, and same thing there. It's the entire album in original and demo form. And this is a Boomerang from 1982. This is the last album from, on Elektra. And this is a rarity CD. And that contains the Shoes on Ice EP. And that's a Cherry Red box set. Now the band themselves, they released the albums on CD. There was a 2 CD set here that had, or actually 2 album on 1 CD, Present Tense and Tongue Twister. And then they put Boomerang and the Shoes on Ice EP, which was a promo-only live EP that came out when that album came out. And Silhouette is the first album as a trio. Skip Meyer, the drummer, had left the band. And that was not released in America. It was released only in Europe, to my knowledge. This was the very first Shoe CD. This came out, I believe, in 1987. And it had one new song that was going to be featured on the forthcoming album, which was this album here, which is called Stolen Wishes, and that came out in 89. And this is the album Propeller, came out in 1994. There was a 5-year break there. And this is Double Exposure. It has demos for the first 2 Elektra albums. You can now get those demos in the Cherry Red box set, but if you don't have the box set, that's a great collection. And this is their most recent studio album, came out in 2012, and that's fantastic. And then here's a great compilation that Real Gone Music put together. They came to me and they said, "Hey, Schnee, can you do the liner notes?" I actually picked out the tracks. I worked with the band and we chose the tracks and I did the liner notes there. And very, very proud of that. As you can see, there's my name there. And it's just it's a great compilation, regardless if I was involved. It really, really is for a great band. Shoes. Well, that's it. Those are my Shoes CDs. I have put together a monumental medley featuring songs from every studio album. I want you to hear this band. If you've never heard them before, this will be a crash course in Shoes history right here on Power Pop Confidential. If you're familiar with them, it's just going to remind you what a great band they are, and you're going to need to go pull your CDs or your vinyl, blast them, and play Shoes. So sit back, relax, give this a listen, and I will see you on the other side.
confidential. Don't do it, no, don't do it now. This part of me won't let go. Don't do it, no, don't do it now. What a shame. Nobody to blame. You've been in the way, but you're afraid of what you might find behind. Diminishing returns. Might find something. Diminishing returns. Might find behind. Diminishing returns. Might find something. Behind diminishing returns. When the joke's on you, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Everybody knows that the joke's on you. Now the joke's on you.
Well, that's it. I hope this episode of Power Pop Confidential inspires you to check out the band Shoes. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.